Morning. So, my name is Rocio Mena, as you'll know, and I'm currently WARP's co-chair, and I will be opening this business meeting today. So we'll start by sharing with you the financial report. Then we will say goodbye to the outgoing board members, as well as welcoming the new ones. We'll be introducing our new staff and our major 2023 accomplishments this year, our goals also for the upcoming year, and some other exciting news, like, for example, the location for our next annual meeting, for the 2025 annual meeting. So we are really, really grateful that you are here with us today. Your engagement is really important to the organization, and definitely WARP wouldn't be what it is today without all the members and the volunteers. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rocio. We're going to begin with board member introduction. So I'm going to ask the board of directors who are all sitting up front to stand. I have a microphone. I'm going to hand to Cheryl to start, and just introduce yourselves, if you're an officer, your position on the board, and then we'll move into the first report.
You want us all standing here?
Yeah, that's fine, and I'll give you a microphone. Where you live?
Cheryl Mush. I live in Kirksville, Missouri, and I am currently WARP's treasurer.
Treasured treasurer, I would add. My name's Hattie Hollyfield, and I'm currently the co-chair, but I'm going off of that position this year, and I'm incoming secretary. Oh, I live in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hi, I'm Diane Manning, and I'm just completing my first year on the board, and I'm also chair of the Grants Committee, and I'm from Los Gatos, California.
Beth Davis, Acton, Massachusetts. Rumor has it that I may be a co-chair next year.
I'm Deborah Chandler. I live in Guatemala City. Glad to be here. I find it highly amusing that this group of people who are in charge are all, what we're into is networking. No, but nobody wants to get up in front and talk. Right, I live in Guatemala. I'm here. I'm on the board, but I'm for one more year, and I'm not an officer of any kind at this moment.
You just do nothing on the board.
I do nothing.
My name's Elena Laswick. I live in Neva, Quiché, Guatemala, and this is my third year on the board already somehow, and I am, well, you'll see what's happening with me later on, briefly. Oh, okay, well, I'm rotating off this year and becoming I'm currently marketing chair on the board, and now I'm becoming like a paid marketing person, so yeah. Hi again. I'm Rocio. I'm from Mexico City. I live there, and I'm currently the co-chair.
I'm Maren Beck from Eugene, Oregon. Just finishing my 5th year on the board, and I am currently chair of the membership committee.
And my name is Cale Chappell. I'm finishing my first term on the board, and will be stepping off the board later today. I've been serving as your secretary, and I failed to do something I was supposed to do before this meeting, which was email you all a copy of the minutes from last year's meeting, because later we're going to ask you to vote to approve the minutes from last year's meeting, but you've never seen them. So I have 2 copies here I'm going to pass around so we can vote on this later. Thank you.
Thanks, Kale. All right, thank you, everyone. And I'm Kelsey Wiskirchen. I'm WARP's executive director, and we are beginning our business meeting today with my report for you about what's been going on with WARP. Next slide, please. I like to start with a little bit of WARP history. Deborah and Linda might be tired of seeing this picture, but I love it. This is WARP at our first annual meeting in 1992 at Elizabeth Horvat's cabin in Colorado. So 3 of the original 6 members are here in this room right now. Raise your hands. That's Deborah Chandler, Beth Davis, and Linda Temple.
Can you tell which ones we are?
I can. This is Warp a year later at the second annual meeting, also in Colorado. And you can see that in that first year, the membership about doubled. Next slide. This is Warp now. This picture isn't from this year, but again, we're in Colorado this year. Warp, as of right now, has 612 active members living in 25 countries. I don't think we're technically in the beginning of the Zoom age anymore, but I think now we live in the Zoom age, or whatever Zoom, that technology that's at our fingertips becomes. So as you all know, Warp has changed a lot in the last number of years since the pandemic and coming into these wonderful resources that we have at our fingertips. So we now have monthly programs that some are free and open to all, some are for Warp members. We now, like we're doing today with the help of our wonderful support tech staff, we are live streaming to members who can't be here with us in person. So really, starting to utilize this technology has completely influenced the shape of our organization. Next slide, please. I want to start with our mission, vision, and values. These were rewritten or sort of honed in, kind of edited and recompiled by the board of directors about 3 years ago. Some of you have already heard me announce these, read them out before, but some of you may not have. But I always think, whether you're familiar with them or not, it's a good touchstone. So let's start with our mission. Warp is a catalyst for improving the quality of life for textile artisans worldwide. We are an inclusive global network of individuals and organizations who value the social, cultural, historic, artistic, and economic importance of textile arts. Next slide. Our values. Number 1, textiles are fundamental to the human experience and reflect a community's culture. 2, cross-cultural exchange enriches the lives of individuals in the global textile community and promotes positive change. 3, networking and sharing information facilitate constructive action. 4, making ethical connections between textile artisans and the market empowers artisans through stable income generation. And Warp's vision. We envision Warp to be accessible to a multilingual, multicultural, and all-inclusive network. 2, we bring an ethical orientation to all we do. 3, we promote the sharing of information, resources, and technical assistance within the global textile arts community. And 4, we see tangible impacts resulting from our networking in textile arts communities around the world. Next, please. These statements have been up here behind the speakers all weekend, but you probably haven't been able to get close enough to read them, so there you go. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Warp's impact, our programs, and what we do. Out of the pandemic, we developed a grant-giving program. It began as an emergency relief program for those being impacted by the pandemic and has grown into also including a development grant program. And you'll hear more about the grant program later on from the chair of the committee, Diane. But I want to share that since the beginning of the program, we have given 38 emergency relief grants and development grants to textile communities around the world, totaling $33,728. This year, thanks to donor support, we will give $23,000. So this will be our most giving of any year so far, and we have seen an increase. Each year, we've increased the giving due to incredible donor support from our members and the community at large. So thank you for supporting that program. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the scholarship program. As I've shared already this weekend, I joined Warp as a scholarship recipient. That year there was I was the single scholarship recipient, and that program has also grown due to so much support from the membership. So during our 2022 virtual meeting, we awarded 4 scholarships to textile artisans who presented virtually. And the next year, one of the 4 was able to actually join us in person. That was Elisa Luteral. In 2023, last year, we awarded 3 Alice Brown Memorial Scholarships for attendance at the annual meeting in Kent State in Ohio. And if you see the images here, 2 of the 3 are with us this year, which is incredible. And Chad Troyer is also on the slate for joining our board of directors. For this year's 2024 meeting, do you recognize that picture? We awarded 5 scholarships, the most ever, thanks to donor support, and the first year that we were also able to cover travel expenses, thanks to Betty Taguchi for creating the Taguchi Family Fund, with the pledge to continue supporting travel for our scholarship recipients. Thank you, Betty. Okay, our virtual programs. To date, we have shared monthly virtual programs with over 4,000 people in over 60 different countries. So as I said, starting to utilize the virtual technology has really increased our reach. The recordings of nearly all of these are on WARP's website and on YouTube. And when you visit the WARP website, there's an events tab with a previous events drop down. And I say nearly all because in the early days, it took us a little time to figure out the recording and the saving of the files, but since about the 3rd program, everything is archived and there for not just members, but for anyone to use as a resource. At this point, as of today, we have had 34 panel discussions. Those are the Continuing Textile Traditions panel discussions. I forget how many months into the pandemic this program was started, but the idea came from Phyllis Alvik, and it was such a great program. It made such a difference. It really felt like when we weren't able to be in person together, we were able to connect so much with members that this has become an ongoing program for WARP. So 34 of those so far. Those are monthly, and they are open to all. So we really wanted those programs to be inclusive. And in the end, it's turned out to be a really great member recruiting tool because a lot of people are able to watch those for free and then get interested in WARP and join. We have had 24 Meet a Member fireside chats. So I guess about a year after we started the panel discussions, we wanted to create a program that was also just for members to help members connect a little bit more intimately. So that's our 2nd monthly program that we added, and that is, again, just for members. It's a way for you to meet an individual WARP member and really get to know a lot about them in depth. And if you're interested in being a featured presenter, let us know. Beth Davis, if you raise your hand, board member, is always looking for new people to speak, and she's on the committee with a number of other members and volunteers. Deborah.
And every other month it's on in Spanish also.
Right, and every other month it's on in Spanish. So that's our of our 2nd language speakers, Spanish is the most common in the WARP membership. So as you saw in our vision, we want to be multilingual and inclusive. So it makes sense for us. We started with Spanish in terms of offering programs in other languages. Okay, next slide. In 2023, last year, we held our first members exhibition in conjunction with our annual meeting at Kent State University. Board member Diane Manning put in many, many hours organizing and facilitating that exhibition, as well as Kat Novak, who's here and hosted us last year at Kent State. That was a really wonderful experience, and we're interested in doing exhibitions again in the future. It didn't work out this year for Golden, but maybe next year, we'll see. But these are those were 3 of the exhibitors who were included. Okay, I want to talk about the website for a moment. In 2023, we conducted a rebranding campaign, which resulted in a new website, which launched with the idea of making WARP's resources more accessible. It also resulted in the logo, the redesign of WARP's logo, which you see on the left. If you were at last year's business meeting, I screen shared and talked about how to log in on the relaunched website and shared some of the resources. I won't go into too much technical information, but we had some issues with how the website that holds all of our membership features, such as the membership directory and membership login to update your profiles, we had some complications with how that integrated with the main website. So we were really excited about it last year. We've had a lot of kinks with that system, and I know a lot of you have had to email me, trying to log in to view members-only content and update your profiles. So I want to share that we are working on another sort of integration, and we're going to be fixing all of those problems in the next couple of months. So if you've had issues with that, we're working on that right now. And the goal is for all of the members-only content to be really easy to access. And we also will be creating a membership directory that you can download as a PDF and print out, because I know a lot of people in the room have asked for that membership directory that we used to have every year with the whole membership and the information about members. So I wanted to update you on that because I know that's been on a lot of people's minds this year. Okay. Okay, these are some of the resources that are easily accessible that I want to share with you. We have an Artisan Direct Connect on Warp's website that's under Community, and that is a listing of all of the member business organizations who have opted in. So if you're interested in, shopping retail or wholesale or going on a textile tour, that is a resource with listings in those various categories. So you can click through with contact information for those members. You can read about the business. So again, that's under the Community tab on the Warp website, and I encourage you to peruse that. We also have a members publication list. So this is a listing that Deborah Chandler worked on that includes how many members, Deborah, or how many publications generally? A ballpark? 600? Oh, 250, okay. It felt like 600, she said. We have a lot of people in our membership who have written books, who have written articles, who have worked on films. So the member publication list is a compilation of as many of those resources as we've been able to get people to send to us. If you have written a book or worked on a film or written an article that you don't think is listed in the publication list, send Deborah an email because we are happy to keep adding to that. But that is a resource that you can look through. All of those resources are related to Textiles, to Warp's mission, and it's really fascinating just to scroll through. But it's also searchable by category. So you can type in, any keyword and it'll pull up anything that's linked to that keyword. Yeah, and a bunch of those people are here. Raise your hand if you are in the members publication list. Yeah, great, excellent. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is something that's coming very soon. This is the Warp Newsletter Index. So we also have all of the newsletter archive. We have 30 years of newsletters, 27 years of newsletters. There's a newsletter page on the website that has the archive. We're also working on updates to that. Some of the links are missing, but again, in our fine tuning we're working on right now, our goal is to have a fully intact, complete archive of Warp's newsletters over the years. And the new feature is the Warp Newsletter Index, which was begun by Steve Sipke, and then Cheryl Mush has spent countless hours on it this year to get it intact from 2012 to 2023, and she plans to go back and keep working on expanding that too. So this is going to be embedded into the newsletter archive page and will be searchable. So again, if there's any specific topic, a country, a person that you're interested in going back and seeing what's been written about in the Warp newsletter, it will be searchable and link you to that. Well, it won't link you to, but you'll find the volume, the year in the volume, and you'll be able to go to that newsletter and read that article. So this is a huge resource, and thank you, Cheryl, for working on it. Yeah. We're going to hear a little bit more from Elena about marketing later on, but I want to share that we have expanded our marketing and social media reach to help promote WARP's work and connect with our members. This year, I don't know why we never thought of it before, but this year we, a year ago, we formed a marketing committee. For the last 6 months, the marketing committee, which consists of an individual who works on each of our different platforms. So we've had Linda Temple joining us to talk about the newsletter, Diane Manning to talk about the website, Elena and Rocio to talk about social media. And we come together once a month and plan all of WARP's marketing for the month. So this is, I don't know if you've noticed on the receiving end, but we've really been working on planning things out to really increase our communication. And one of the really great new features is our monthly roundup. So in the last week of each month, we're sending an email that includes all of that month's sort of links to the program recordings, any news that is really important for members, so that if you haven't been able to follow all the various emails, the monthly roundup is everything in one place. That's really essential. And we'll talk more about marketing later. Okay, we have some serious thank yous today. I think we had 27 volunteers, but probably even more in the end, just for the annual meeting. If your name is not on this list, I'm sorry if I missed you, but I did my best to compile. These are our annual meeting volunteers, our committee volunteers who work this weekend and all year round to make sure that WARP's business runs smoothly. So for the annual meeting, I have some very specific thank yous. Kathy Jacobus, are you in the room? Kathy's over on the side of the room. Kathy saved the day. She's a WARP member who's been volunteering for several years on various committees, but specifically for the annual meeting. When our original host facility, we found out the day before we were going to open registration for this year's annual meeting that they were closing their doors. Kathy suggested this location and helped facilitate the communication, and within 2 weeks we had a new venue. So thank you, Kathy. I want to thank our annual meeting planning committee, who's been meeting weekly for many months, and then besides those meetings, doing tons and tons of hours of work to make everything happen. That's Deborah Chandler, that's Elena, Rocio, and Lindsay. So thank you all. Right, and Kathy also participated in those meetings. Okay, I want to thank our fantastic tech support who's been making this our best live streaming experience ever. Thank you to Alex and Chris, the church's staff members. And thank you to Kelly, our in-house WARP tech support, who's also been filming things and is going to be helping out more tonight with tech. Thank you, Kelly. And I don't think she's in the room, but I also want to thank Carol Wilsley, who has been our in-house, on-site contact and has really helped so much with facilitating communication and making sure that all of our logistics run smoothly. So thank you, Carol. I want to thank my partner and my complete right-hand man, Daniel Johnston. Besides driving the shuttles, he's been just running constant errands all weekend long to make sure that we have everything that we need. And you'll also get to see him as our auctioneer tonight. Thank you, Daniel. I want to thank Betsy Blosser, who's a scholarship committee member, for doing introductions for scholarships yesterday. Thank you, Betsy. I want to thank Kate Colwell and Kathy McHenry. They've spent many, many hours volunteering this weekend, but most specifically, I want to thank you for sorting out all of the auction items late into the night on arrival day and also working on them yesterday. Thank you. I want to thank Alice Gansfield. She also has been helping since before attendees even arrived on our board arrival day. She ran errands for us, helped go shopping, received the food, and helped sort it with Kathy McHenry. So thank you, Alice, for all of your help. And of course, I want to thank our board of directors. You're not on the list, but you have obviously done really essential work all year long, countless hours, and you're also all volunteering all weekend long, so thank you all. And again, if I forgot anyone, I apologize. But I also want to share that Debbie Durham, who's a longtime WARP member, is working on coordinating volunteers. We had a membership survey earlier this year that asked you if you'd like to volunteer for WARP and to select the sort of committee or type of project that you would be interested in. So if you did indicate an interest on that survey, you'll be hearing from Debbie this year. And if you are interested in helping with a particular committee and didn't fill out the survey, please let me or a board member know. And Debbie will be working on coordinating those efforts. So again, thank you to all of our volunteers and all of the members who make our work happen. Okay. Oh, WARP is our members. You are WARP. Thank you for being a part of our community. Okay, that concludes my report. I'm going to actually shift right into the financial report. In your packet, so you have a business meeting agenda that has a few items stapled in. You have on the second sheet a double-sided annual budget. And the budget shows the side-by-side of our 2021 through 2024 budgets. And I'm going to just let you review that. I'm not going to go through that, line by line, but I do want to share a few of the most important details with you. So next slide, please. So WARP's annual operating budget for 2024 is $117,768. Our largest financial commitments this year are staff salaries. We have me as executive director, Lindsay Woodruff as our new and fantastic administrative assistant, who I'll introduce in a few minutes, and we have Elena coming in as marketing coordinator. The next item is our annual meeting. Communications is also one of our largest financial commitments. Our membership database, the web designer, who helps us maintain our website, but also is going to be helping us fix the member login issues. And then artisan support grants. So those 4 items are really our largest budget lines. Next slide. As you know, and as I've already said, we've had an incredible amount of growth in our organization over the last number of years. Last year was the first year that WARP exceeded a $100,000 annual budget. And you can see we've even grown since last year in terms of the budget. This growth is made possible by the support of our members. We do some fundraising, which also is funneled into by our members, but donor support is really what makes WARP run. The Ellen Merritt Bequest in 2022, we received around $50,000. In 2023, we received a bequest from Leslie Grace, who was a WARP member. That was about $25,000. I want to thank again the Taguchi Family Fund for scholarship travel, and also anonymous donor support for assistantship travel. And both of those travel funds are pledges to continue being able to now support the actual travel for those awards. The grant matching fundraiser donations is what keeps our grant matching going. This year we also had an anonymous donation of $10,000, which is why we're able to give so much this year. And then, of course, the general donations and donations made during free events. So with every one of our free online events, we have kind of incremental donation options. And those really, really add up to making a big difference to our annual budget. So I really want to thank all of you who contribute to WARP and make our work possible. Thank you. That's it. But if anyone has any questions about the budget in reviewing it, I'm happy to answer questions as well. Okay. Linda Temple moves that we accept the financials. Is there a second? Oh, Sarah Salson said it out loud, so she gets the second. Okay, all in favor? Any not in favor? Okay, thank you for approving the financials. Next, we're going to move into election of new board members. We have that, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the minutes from last year have been circulating. Does anyone move to approve the minutes from the 2023 annual meeting? Deborah Chandler moves. Beth Davis's hand went up, so she seconds. All in favor? Aye. Anyone not in? Kale says thank you. Anyone not in favor? Carol's not in favor. We just, what Kale said at the beginning is we forgot to send them out in advance and we forgot to print a copy for everyone. If anyone would like a copy, I am happy to print one out for you. We have 2 copies, so if there are 2 people who want them. But we also we can include the minute, if you want it, we can include the minutes and the financials in a follow-up email as well. That's no problem. Okay, several people are saying that would be good, so Lindsay, can you remind me? Let's see. Okay, so we're done with the minutes. Okay, now we're going to talk about new board members. So we have 2 current board members who have just completed a 3-year term and have agreed to be on the slate for consideration for a second term. That is Hetty Hollyfield and Cheryl Mush. I'm sorry I said your name incorrectly earlier. We also have 2 new nominees who have accepted the nomination to be on the slate for consideration. That's Liz Gibson and Chad Troyer. And it's traditional for the 4 of you to just say a few words. If their bios are also on the back page of the agenda, but I'm going to hand the microphone down and ask the 4 of you to come up and just say a few words, if that's okay. Let's start with Cheryl and Hetty. Oh, you're all here. Okay.
You've probably heard enough from me this weekend. My name's Hetty Hollyfield. I've been on the board for 3 years now. When I was asked to come on the board, I thought I'm not qualified. But it's just, it's been really heartening to see how well this board works together and really gets a lot done. I'm really proud of what we've done.
I'm Cheryl Mush. Some of you may know me from years and years ago. I was the administrative coordinator for WARP for a while. I was on the board for a while. I was away for a while. And now I've been on the board for another 3 years. I've been treasurer and have agreed to do so again if reelected. So that's me.
Hi, I'm Liz Gibson, and I've been a member of WARP since '96 when I was a student and served in various capacities, but never on the board. So tag.
Hi, I'm Chad Troyer. I joined last year as a WARP scholarship recipient. This year, when I got the call, or when somebody told me Deborah was trying to get in contact with me, I thought I had done something wrong. But I'm so honored to have been asked, so thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so next, I'm not the best at the business end of the facilitation, but I believe next we open nominations from the floor. Any nominations from the floor? Okay, so now Linda Temple is going to take the 4 of them away so we can talk about them, and we'll wait until they're completely gone. Sure, Amy. Do you want to come up and use the mic, or? Okay. I'll repeat the question, yeah. Amy was asking how many spots we have. So our bylaws state that we can have a maximum of 9 board members, which we currently are at capacity. So we have 2 board members who will be seeing next, who are leaving the board, who are not renewing terms. And so that opens up 2 new spots. So Hetty and Cheryl are currently on the board and, up for reelection. And then Liz and Chad are filling the spots of Kale and Elena to join. So we actually, we're at capacity in terms of what our bylaws state. If all four of them are elected by you. Kelly, are all of them outside, including Linda?
I believe so.
Yeah. There's a radio outside. Is it, they're outside. Can they hear any of the live stream outside? There's no speakers outside, is there, Chris? Okay, he's shaking his head no. We're good. Okay. Okay. We really, really don't want them to hear what we say about them. So does anyone, I think we vote, but do we have discussion first?
We have discussion if anybody has anything.
Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns about the slate?
I would say,
Deborah, use the microphone. Deborah, please use the microphone.
I just want to say. Does that work now?
Yes.
I just want to say, we're really happy with them, and if you don't elect them, we're going to kill you. That's a little harsh, but we really
Extreme.
want these people.
I just want to say I'm thrilled to see Chad on the list. That's really
Right.
exciting.
We actually are making a really concerted effort to try to bring some young people in. As you can see, we aren't, mostly. And we really want to get some young people, we're glad to have Rocio from Mexico, we're trying to do that. And Elena from Guatemala, yeah.
I feel young even if I'm
On paper, no.
Does anyone move to accept the slate? I see Kathy in the very back, Kathy Joslin, and I see Betsy Blosser as a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone not in favor? Okay, they are officially in. Deborah, you have something to say before we let them come back.
Absolutely. So the reason I'm really up here, in a few minutes, we're going to thank Linda Temple for doing the newsletter for the last 25 years. And we're going to do a really big deal. So this morning, we have 3 events happening around that. Tonight, we're going to have 2 more. And the reason we're talking about it now in secret is that part of it is Linda's son and family live in London. And Linda's husband died some months ago, and this has changed her world completely. And so one of the things that we decided to do for her is create a fund that she can use as a travel fund so that she can still go see her kids without having to worry about going bankrupt in the process. And so we have, it's not here, I don't know where Daniel went. We have a jar that Daniel made, right, that we want to fill with money. And Kelsey set up a private GoFundMe campaign that's been on for a while, but not everybody has known about that. So if you want to put money into the jar this year, we're going to tell Linda, so she won't be embarrassed, we're going to tell her it's her 401k. Because for all the years she's been doing the newsletter, of course, there haven't been any benefits or anything like that. So she'll probably be the only person who ever gets a pension from WARP. So the jar, which is like this size, is going to be out at the main desk, right? And Lindsay's going to be the one keeping track of it and protecting it. So if you would like to put anything into that, from 5 cents to $50,000 is fine. And we would be appreciated. Then tonight is when we're going to present it to her. So we have 3 things happening today during the meeting, none of which she knows about, plus her son is coming in from London on Zoom, which she also doesn't know. So he's here now, and when the time comes, Kelly's going to bring hi Blaze, I see you back there. Kelly's going to bring the laptop up here so Linda will know that he's here with her. And then tonight, during the auction, fashion show, all that stuff, Beth wrote a song for her that we're all going to sing, and we're going to present her with this jar and say, here's your travel fund or whatever you want to do with it. Yeah.
What's the GoFundMe name so we can find it?
The GoFund name?
Yeah.
Is it still open?
It is still open, but I'm going to close it because we're presenting it to her. So if you are able, if you can put something into the jar today, that would be the easiest because we've already pulled out those funds. I actually probably need to shut it down. I can still, if anything does come in, I'll send it to Linda, but the GoFundMe has been sent out in 2 emails just to WARP members with Linda taken off. I had to block her and get those emails out and then unblock her so that she could start getting WARP emails again. But it's gone out to members and in 2 different emails that say like secret Linda Temple. But I am going to be taking that down, so it's not an ongoing thing.
For some people that don't have cash, as we say, if somebody needs to get cash, I can probably run them to a bank.
Okay.
Or you can write a check, or you can send money later. Say that, oh, sure. Yeah, that's a suggestion. You can just put a little pledge in there and we can follow it up.
Yeah, a pledge.
IOU in, and
Right.
you don't have a check, and you can't get to the bank or whatever, and since we all know each other, we all know that we'll follow through.
Sure.
And actually, let me just say that I'm realizing that we also have a number of virtual attendees. So I will leave the GoFundMe page open through the end of the weekend. And then for virtual attendees, you can still contribute. We've already pulled out everything that's been contributed up to now, and it's in that jar. But that way I can send any additional funds to Linda, next week. But I'll leave it open through the weekend, and let's say on Monday I'll take it down. So that would allow you to still make a donation through the GoFundMe. And I'll write down the URL. I don't have it memorized, but I'll write down the URL and I'll give it to Lindsay so that she has it up there with the jar. So if you want to contribute through the GoFundMe, see Lindsay. And we can probably even pull it up on her computer, which she's had at that sort of check-in desk most of the day. And you could actually just get on the computer and make a contribution if you want. So
That would be great,
that
'cause
will
not
help
everybody's got it.
facilitate. I know you didn't know, but a lot of you maybe didn't know about this and didn't bring cash. So that'll allow us to still take donations.
Kathy?
Okay, Kathy says there's also an ATM in the hotel at the snack shop.
And I want to acknowledge a lot of people that, as far as we know, we actually have been able to keep this a secret, which is amazing. So just one more day, 6 more hours. So,
Lindsay has something in the back.
Tell on the microphone, say that if any of the folks watching the live stream want the link to text me, I can text it to them.
Okay, if anyone on the live stream would like the link for the GoFundMe, then you can send a text message to Lindsay. Her phone number is in your program email for today. And if you can't find that, just send an email to info@weavearealpeace.org. We'll make sure you have the link if you would like it.
Kelly?
After we do the Linda bit, let's come back and explain to the 4 who are outside with Linda that the reason it took so long is not in the big enough.
No.
That's probably a good idea. We don't want to scare them.
Okay, I think that we're ready, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring the board candidates back in. Maybe they left. Yeah. They gave up. During the thank yous, I'll go figure it out. Deborah. Did you guys have fun out there? We had a lot of good things to discuss about you. I'm happy to say that the WARP membership has accepted the slate, and you are all on WARP's board of directors. Okay, next I'm turning it over to Maren Beck and to Rocio Mena for a couple of thank yous.
I get the privilege of saying goodbye to Kale. 3 years ago, the nominating committee that I was on at the time was trying to find good bodies for the board, people who had the warp attitude, who understood artisans and understood the value of textile artisans in the world. And we found Cale. He said yes. We were thrilled. And I'm going to tell you why nominating wanted him. When right before nominating got going, he did a presentation as part of a panel. And as he was talking about the weavers in Africa with whom he worked, he talked about the artisans themselves. He didn't talk about the baskets or the money or the business. He said his focus was on the artisans, on making sure that they were paid well, that he was supporting the women who, of course, support the community, and that he said his job was to improve their lives. That embodied WARP's purpose. And to have Cale join us was an affirmation that we were doing the right thing and that he was on board with who we are, literally on board. So while he was on the board, actually before that, the other plus about Cale joining us is diversity. We were a board of women at the time, so we got a male body who worked with baskets. We didn't have baskets on the board yet. And he worked in Africa, which was a continent we hadn't had any involvement with. So we got a threefer with Cale. So this was a marvelous thing. So while he was on the board in these last 3 years, I mean, I've been having a really hard time keeping up with all the things that he has done for us. First of all, he's been our secretary. And aside from the blip today, he has been immaculate. He gets the minutes out within 5 minutes of the board meeting ending. Absolutely amazing. He helped with the computer upgrades and finding us a really good person to do some of those upgrades at a really good price. He's been on the business networking group. He revised the board member handbook. He worked on the Community Leadership Award. He worked on the member publication list, on nominating. I mean, I could go on. This is just the top of the iceberg of what he has done. And in addition, on the board, he has been incredibly level-headed, thoughtful, kind. He gave his time and energy and financial resources and donated a whole bunch of baskets to things like auctions. So I want to thank Cale for what he has provided to WARP, and I know he's going to continue being a member. And I also want to wish him well in his continuation on as president of the National Basketry Organization. So he's going to take the WARP word on. So here's a little something for you, Cale. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me on the board. It's been a pleasure serving everyone, and you haven't gotten rid of me. You're going to see me around a lot still. Thank you.
So now I'm thanking Elena also for her last 3 years serving at the board. Well, she lives and works in Guatemala, so that also brings us like a lot of richness to the WARP community. So she first got involved with WARP in 2021 at our virtual meeting. She was a tech person, and well, her mom was already a WARP member, so that's how she got in. And well, when she was invited to be part of the board, she thought she wouldn't have enough time to help us, but somehow she got hooked and she ended up investing a lot of time and effort in WARP. So her eye for design, her marketing skills, cultural and language skills, and youthful energy were really appreciated. Elena was also in charge of rebranding WARP. She was part of the committee in charge of renewing WARP website and image. And well, also thanks to Elena, we started a marketing committee, and she has also been a huge help with social media. We increased our awareness, and we reached 2,000 people thanks to her. So we will definitely miss you, and getting to know you has been a really huge pleasure to me and to us all. So I think that's the beauty of WARP, like the connections WARP create are really invaluable. So I never thought that getting to know you in Zoom meetings first and at the War Board would be like so meaningful to me. So yeah, so thank you, Elena, for these 3 amazing years, and more to come in your new marketing coordinator role. So.
All right, next up we have a really important thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Deborah Chandler, actually.
Say something for a minute.
Okay. As I think you all know, Linda Temple has been Warp's newsletter editor for 25 years. Which, when she announced her retirement from the position, we said, wow, Linda, 100 newsletters. And then we needed her to stay on and do another for us, so she's actually done 101. All right, Deborah Chandler's gonna come up.
This might be my shortest speech ever because I'm going to be sharing with other people. Could you come up here, please, Linda? Come on. You can do it. Wait, come over here. So first, flowers, of course. Come all the way up. So we're giving Linda flowers, of course, and we're also giving you a lifetime membership to Warp, finally. About time. So live long so you can enjoy it. Okay? And we want you to know, Kelly, you ready? We have more company here. This is her son Blaze and her granddaughter. Here, turn around so everybody can see. So we've brought them in to appreciate the occasion. Okay? They're in London, which is where they live. And Sarah, you're on next, right?
Can you hear me? So forgive me, I'm not good at speaking extemporaneously, so I have something to read for you, Linda. So Linda, as you and our fellow weavers know, every warp needs a weft to create cloth. A cloth that's sound, beautiful, and useful. The newsletter, which you've edited for 25 years. Oh, sorry, is that better? The newsletter has been Warp's weft. It has been the thread connecting us all. Text and textile come from the same Latin root, textus, which meant woven fabric. You have given us a bounty of text and textiles in the most dedicated way possible. For 25 years, you gave us a richly informative text that brought us together and reminded us of our common goals. Thank you for creating 101 issues of the newsletter, the weft that has interlaced Warp, weave a real piece for 25 years. We hope you enjoy this token of our gratitude for 25 years of devotedly editing the Warp newsletter. I'd like to present to you a special issue of the newsletter in your honor. It's all about you.
Thank you, Sarah. So not only does Linda get one, but everybody here gets one. And it'll go out online to all of our members in the world. And it'll be online with the others. And before you read it, It's Kale's turn. We're not done.
Today, I was asked to talk about WARP's Leadership Award. And as all of you know me pretty well by now, I didn't want to mess this up, so I'm going to read it. The award was created almost 3 years ago to recognize and honor greatness among us. You may remember that our first honoree was our wonderful community member, Jackie Abrams. WARP's Community Leadership Award honors WARP members who have demonstrated a deep commitment to WARP's mission of improving the life of textile artisans in communities worldwide. This award is for individuals who have been influential in the WARP community and also influential in doing good in the world beyond WARP. It is with my great joy that today I get to announce our second WARP Community Leadership Award honoree, Linda Temple. You don't. As co-founder of WARP more than 30 years ago, it's easy to recognize that without Linda's efforts from the beginning, WARP would never have gotten off the ground. She served on the original board, finalized our nonprofit status, maintained our mailing list and membership directory for many years, was instrumental in the development of so many WARP programs, small, large, short, and long-term. Quietly, often in the background, there has never been a time when Linda's presence and contributions were not making a difference. In the early days of WARP, long before the age of the internet, the WARP quarterly newsletter was our primary means of sharing ideas and stories about member projects around the world. From the beginning, the newsletter was everyone's connecting link and their favorite part of WARP. Now, more than 30 years later, it is still ranked in every survey we have done as the most utilized and loved offering of the organization. Linda Temple has been serving as the editor for the past 25 years. More than anything else, Linda has been the face behind the face of WARP, promoting our message through stories from all over the world. That alone would earn Linda the Community Leadership Award, as she has reached out to and on behalf of artisans worldwide for a quarter of a century. But that's just one of so many things Linda has done for the textile artisan community. There really is too much to list here and now, so more information about Linda will be found on WARP's website in a week or so when the award is posted. And the special edition newsletter will also be posted there for people on the live stream and will be promoted to all the membership, and all the membership will be notified. Thank you all for allowing me the pleasure to present this award. But more importantly, a huge, heartfelt thank you to Linda Temple from all the members of WARP.
I could go out and visit with them. Yeah. And you can say anything if you want or not. Oh, I don't think so. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
If you want to now.
She doesn't want to miss me.
Whew, feels like we should just stop there. Okay, well, it's hard to move on from that, actually. But next is another really exciting thing, which is introducing our staff, who by now you all know quite well. But I want to call Lindsay and Elena to the front. So It's been 2.5 years ago that the board of directors hired me as executive director. It's incredible to now have 2 supporting staff members. Our team is just so incredible. Just here is fine. I won't make you say anything. I just wanted to make you come up. Lindsay Woodruff, Warp's new administrative assistant. She is, as you can see, she is already completely indispensable to Warp. She seamlessly steps straight into the position. Her and I are on Zoom and on the phone most weekdays, and she is fitting in this job with Warp in between having a family, in between running a fair trade store in Ohio. So I'm so grateful and excited to have Lindsay on board as staff. Okay, Elena Laswick. She has put in countless hours as a board member and a volunteer over the last 3 years during her term on the board. As I've already discussed, she is the head of our marketing committee. Her skills in marketing and communication, and as Rocio said, in design, are fantastic, and she has really been essential in the communication with members and the Textile community at large. And I am also so grateful that Elena accepted our offer to keep her on as staff when her board term concludes. So now that your board term has concluded about 3 minutes ago, you are officially Warp's our marketing director. Thank you. So now if you need something from Warp, you have not just me, but all 3 of us. And we are working on setting up, Lindsay already has a Warp email address, but we're working on setting up a Warp email address for Elena, and we'll make sure to communicate with members about, how to reach everyone. So excited, and thank you both. Okay, I am turning it over to outgoing co-chair, Hetty Hollyfield, for discussing Warp's 2023-2024, the achievement of our goals.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be really short because we've already covered most of them. We had set a goal of hired an administrative assistant last year, and we have one now, which is fantastic. And we've already are thinking that we didn't hire for her enough hours, so we're considering expanding those hours. Our executive director, like 3 years ago, we didn't have one. We had an administrative assistant, and we decided to hire an executive director so she could focus on outreach more. And we hired Kelsey, which I couldn't be more thrilled about. I think she's done a fantastic job. But we inundated her with work, and she didn't have time for outreach. So we're hoping by having an administrative assistant position that she will have time to do more outreach. And we completed the rebranding of the website and our logos, et cetera, but that was kind of behind the scenes, but I think you'll see more of that in the coming year because we're going to redo our membership software. And last year we had our first in-person meeting after the pandemic, which was a raving success. We'd lost a lot of our memory of how to organize an in-person meeting. And this year it's been a meeting of miracles, actually, which we can talk about later. And finally, I just want to, we had decided last year we'd continue the artisan support grants, and I just wanted to mention we gave out $13,600 last year. We had 63 applicants. We gave out 20 grants. And we had 14 new members as a result of those grants. So I think that's, everything else is, we've already talked about, so I don't need to add any more, I don't think.
Okay, next, your official marketing coordinator, Elena, is going to come up and give a marketing report.
Well, so we've already talked about most of these things, so I'm going to be very brief. This committee was officially established in November of 2023. I believe that was our first meeting. And as Kelsey mentioned earlier, we had a member from each of our different kind of areas of communication. So we had Linda Temple as newsletter editor at large. We have Diane kind of as a website liaison and expert, or someone with opinions about the website. We had myself and Rocio kind of on social media, and Kelsey as the person behind all of your emails. So, Oh, and the blog. Well, Deborah was on at that time as blog, and Rocio is now social media and blog representative. So we had all of these, lots of communications going out to you, and poor Kelsey, before the establishment of this committee, had been basically trying to coordinate all, or, you know, those moving pieces were all getting coordinated by different people, as you can see, and they weren't necessarily meeting and coming together on a regular basis and discussing, you know, what are you doing this month? What are you doing this month? And Kelsey was doing all of the social media posting and all of the emails, and was always feeling like she was just kind of catching up instead of doing things in a strategic and planned way. So that is why the third point here is a weight off of Kelsey's shoulders, because I think she has said that we're really happy to hear that this committee has been the biggest, you know, weight off of her shoulders and the biggest time saver for her, because she was doing so many of those pieces previously on her own without the support of the board and the committee. And so now she has all of us to come together with each month. We do a monthly kind of plan of all of the communications that are going to go out. How are they all going to fit together? Make sure we're not emailing you too many times, which has been hard the past few months, as you may have noticed. I believe one month we sent out like 20 emails. Yeah, it was, we were like, oh, well, that has to happen. So, yeah, so with the annual meeting being so early this year relative to at least last year, we were realizing we were communicating about a lot of stuff concurrently, and that was the result. So forgive us for that, and thank you for sticking through all those emails. And as a result of feeling like we're sending out so many communications, how can we simplify this for members? As previously mentioned as well, we have this new monthly roundup email that we started January, which has all of your links in one convenient location, so that you don't have to search through all of your emails. If you just save that one, that's all you need for the whole month's programming, all the important links, all the important announcements. So if you haven't noticed that already, keep your eye out and maybe save those. And that's also a great thing to kind of forward on to anyone that you might think is interested in WARP, because it's everything in one place, and they can kind of get a good overview of what we've done that month, what WARP is about, and it has all of our social media links as well. So I'm going to talk very briefly. I'm going to present you with these kind of scary looking slides in a second. And it's just a bunch of statistics pulled off of Facebook, basically. They do all their own reporting, so it's pretty easy for us to kind of just ask, how are we doing? And it can pull all of that for you. And I'm going to show them, but I'm going to just talk very briefly about each one and explain what it means, so don't worry. This is what I mean. So highlighted in red is the important part. So this is kind of like pre-marketing committee, and then after the marketing committee was established. You can see that our Facebook reach went up by 10%, and our Instagram reach went up by 60%. This is basically like how many people are even like seeing the things that we're posting about. And then if we go to the next slide, you'll see that our Facebook visits went up by almost 100%. Instagram profile visits went up by almost 70%. And on the next slide, you'll see that Facebook follows went up by 170%. And Instagram follows by almost 100% as well, almost 95%. So then I think on the next slide, when did I make this? Okay, I made this in February, the end of February for a board meeting. And this was comparing basically like the first month of the marketing committee, which was December 1st to December 31st, and then the most recent month at that point, February of the marketing committee, just how had things changed even from when we first implemented the committee to when we were speaking at this point at the board meeting. And so you can see we've also improved even since starting. We've kind of got our footing some more. We've established procedures. We've posted way more. And that's the reason that we saw our Facebook reach even go up 300% since the marketing committee started, and almost 70% on Instagram. So I think on the next slide we have, profile visits since the beginning, and kind of 3 months into the marketing committee also greatly increased, underlined in red there. And that might be it. Okay, so, sorry. So we are going to have my email going out to all of you. You can, this is about sharing what you see on our social media specifically, but also sharing things that you want me to post about with me directly, so you'll have my email. Another thing that's really helpful on Facebook and social media in general is sharing posts that you see and saving posts that you see. I don't know why, but this is what the algorithm likes, and it helps us reach more people. So if you're a Facebook user particularly, these two things are really helpful, sharing them and saving them. And then from the very first slide, one thing that I wanted to mention is that we are working to be, beyond just social media. Right now, I've talked a lot about communications, but we know that marketing goes far beyond communications, and so our kind of next frontier as a committee is working on more strategy and also having more statistics specifically about our email, our website, and being able to kind of track all of those things and make informed decisions and make strategic decisions about how we are reaching our membership and also how we are increasing our membership. So that's kind of the next frontier for the committee. And I guess I should take questions if anyone has any. Where is our? I'll come show you how to save a Facebook post. Okay, good.
Maybe we should have a marketing Zoom later on where you can demonstrate things from our first interested.
Okay, raise your hand if you'd be interested in a marketing Zoom. Okay, cool, we'll do that. Any other questions? Yeah. Get the microphone? Okay, this is.
Thank you. This is very impressive, really, what you guys have done in the last year. And I do not dread those communications. I'm looking forward to them, and this is why I signed up and came. And I'm impressed beyond any expectations about this meeting. So I would like to ask, do you have an area of the website where people can share their work, actually? Just the ongoing projects, and if that's something that people would be interested in. Because again, that also creates a very special community of makers. I might have missed something.
No, you didn't miss anything. That's a great question.
That question. We have a couple of things on the WARP website. We have the Artisan Direct Connect that I mentioned. That page actually has a form at the top where if you'd like to list your business and submit images, you can click and submit, and then we'll work on creating the listing for you. We have a members-only discussion forum, which I know we've had various versions of in the past. I mean, for many, many years in the past, Google groups and Yahoo groups. We have one embedded in the WARP website, but when I was talking about the kind of login issues, it's been hard to activate that in the last year. So in the next few months, when the new features, are integrated and launched, then we will have information for members, and I think we will definitely, our plan last year was to have a kind of, like we were talking about with the social media communication, have a Zoom call for members who are interested in learning how to use that, so that we can sort of show and give a tutorial on that. So the members discussion forum would be a great place to share kind of ongoing things or upcoming things. And then the other thing is that Elena, I mean, she can speak to this, but when we have her email address set up and in place, then we really are going to want to encourage members to funnel things to Elena to actually share out on WARP social media pages. And if there's anything else you'd like to say.
I think that, as you've heard, mentioned several times now, since we are working, we have had a lot of issues with the member side, aka the most important side of our website. That's getting updated very soon, and so I think that a good idea would be to have this call that also encompasses kind of, Facebook sharing and how to interact with us on Facebook. Wait until we have the new back end of the website so that we can also address that point, because I also agree that it's extremely important or the most important thing really, because we are a networking organization and we have done a better job of that in WARP's past of being able to use the website or use Google groups or Yahoo groups to have people connect directly, and we definitely want to make sure, I think, that that's integrated into the new website once we roll that out. So I think as soon as we have that feature available, of course, we'll be letting you know about it, and we agree.
I will just add that then comments take a very different meaning, because after you comments on the Facebook post or social media post, comments would take a very special meaning then, once there is this connection between people and we know each other and we have seen each other's work. Because, if there's one type of comment on social media which is just a like, it is totally different to get some constructive criticism or get actually an advice.
Okay, any other questions or comments from anyone else about this? Okay, great.
Thank you, Elena. You can see why we're so excited to have her on as staff. And also, I'm really pleased by the sort of brainstorming that happened here, some things that we can follow up on. Okay, thank you, Elena. I'm next going to turn it over to Diane Manning, who is the board member who is the chair of our grants committee.
Hi, everybody. Okay, can you hear me? Because I seem to have a habit of speaking too softly, so the microphone hopefully will help. The next slide. First of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone, every member of WARP, because this program would not exist without you. The donations that we have received is what drives everything in terms of how many grants we can offer in any given year. So that was the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing I want to say is a little bit of an apology, because I wish I'd had time to put in a presentation the color of what these grants are like, the photographs that we receive from the applicants showing their work, showing their groups, showing what they're trying to do. And they also submit a report after they receive the grant, which also often, and it does include photos. And I'll come back to that in a minute about how we're thinking about making that more visible to all of you than we are currently doing. Okay, next slide. And I have to drink water. You've already heard a bit about it from the grant program from everyone else, but I know that there may be a number of new people, new to WARP, who may not know very much about it. So just really quickly, the program was started in 2021, chaired by Marin, actually. And it was during COVID, and WARP decided to give small COVID emergency grants for basic necessities like food, housing, and medical care, because tourists weren't coming, people were falling ill, they couldn't keep up with their craft. And so that was the very first time that WARP undertook something like this with a $6,000 of funding. And already we were getting donations from all of you. It was geared to fiber and textile artisans, and at that time you had to have some kind of a relationship with a WARP, either be a WARP member or maybe you're a WARP member working with another group. We had 18 applicants that year and 12 grants were awarded, and you can see there were, these are the countries that, we had 7 countries, Guatemala, Peru, Mexico, Cameroon, Uganda, the United States, and Vietnam. Next slide. Next slide for me, too. Okay, so I'm just going to fast forward to 2024 and try to fill in a little bit. In 2022, we continued to do COVID emergency grants, but we started to see a shift in the kinds of things that the applicants were asking for, which was a really great sign, meaning that they were kind of coming out of an emergency situation and they were looking for support to actually bootstrap or develop their business and kind of move on. We also, by that year, or I think it was last year, we changed the eligibility to any artisan or artisan group worldwide, regardless of WARP affiliation, and that had to do with the fact that we're a 501c3 and we needed to make it available beyond our membership, which turns out to, I think, to have been a really great thing. And we give individual grants for up to $500. It's kind of the heritage of the emergency grants, which were also $500. You know, if you have a very small project that just involves you or your family. And then we also have maximum of $1,000 grants, which is for a group. It can be a cooperative, it can be a loosely organized group that is working together on their artisan art. And as each year, the funding has just increased at a really robust rate, which is why I'm so grateful to all of you. And as was already mentioned, this year we raised $23,000 as a combination of the bequest, one of the bequests, the matching grants, and then individual member donations. That drives how many grants we're going to be able to give, and it's a really good thing because this year, 2024, we have 96 applicants, which is a 52% growth rate over just 2023. The grant application period ran from March 1st to March 31st, but the work started much earlier. There's 6 people on this committee, and we work to design an application that hopefully will give us the information that we need in order to evaluate them. We developed evaluation criteria and a 7-point ranking system, and everybody ranks, and we get together and we add it up and we average it out, and then we also have really interesting conversations about these applications because, you know, it's not just the quantitative part. There's sort of the heart and soul part that you kind of have to, in some ways, read between the lines because the grants really range from very, very simple. Many of them, English is not their first language. And we do have, thanks to Rocio, we had a Spanish language application this year that we were able to do. And for many of them, that's not even their second language because they speak an indigenous language. So there's a lot of translation that goes on. So as a result of the 96, we're still in the process of reviewing them and hoping to be able to announce the results by the end of May. We're not able to do that today like we've done in the past, but hopefully you understand. Also, the number of countries has just really increased. The majority come from Mexico, Guatemala, Africa, which I think Kale might have a little bit to do with, and also from the US. So we do get a number of really interesting applications from the US and Canada. And some of the new countries that we saw this year are Myanmar, Peru, Zambia, Bhutan, Madagascar, Mauritius, and Uzbekistan. And I want to acknowledge marketing again, because we asked them where they heard about it, and about 30% of the applicants said they heard about it on social media. Another large number heard about it from a friend, which may be all of you, or maybe someone else who saw it on social media. So I think social media is really helping to drive this program. And I think that's the end of my slides, but I just have a few more things to say. The types of grants that we see, I kind of tried to bucket them a little. Many are individuals or groups trying to somehow increase the production of what they're doing, either the quality or the materials. So often we get requests for materials, but we also get requests for tools, like a new loom or a sewing machine. Even an iron or a dryer makes a huge difference to their ability to finish their work and improve the quality. And the other area which we've seen, and we're seeing a lot this year, is training. Artisans wanting to train other artisans, training the trainer. And often because they want to preserve a technique or a type of fiber craft that might be dying. So I think the most important part of this is actually hearing the kinds of grants that we've given. And I just want to give you a few examples, and someone stop me when I run out of time because I could keep going. Some of these have already been profiled in our newsletter, and a couple are in the newsletter that's coming out right now, but I just tried to grab a few just to give you a taste. So we had one from an organization called Looms for Livelihood. They received a $1,000 grant on behalf of their handicraft making group in northern Samar, Philippines, which is a remote rural community of about 1,000 people who are among the poorest in the Philippines. Their grant funded the construction by local carpenters of a new box loom for 34 weavers, which replaced those destroyed by typhoons and flooding since 2015. The weavers are using these looms to create various products, including doormats, potholders, and macrame bags. And I think I mentioned that after we give the grant, we ask them to send us a report telling us how they use the grant and how it's helping them. A second one was a weaving collective, Tejedoras 13 Butts, in Sololá, Lake Atitlán, Guatemala. They purchased multiple thread and embroidery batches and tools, which is being used by 10 women who are learning to weave on pedal looms. This will enable them to diversify designs, textures, utility of their fabric. And in addition, they restarted an embroidery and textile school for, I'm not going to try to pronounce the group, Toots, I'm not going to try, which had closed during the pandemic. And I have a quote from the recipient saying that the profound and lasting benefit of these educational projects to our community is to keep alive the artistic and ancestral knowledge about textiles of the Mayan Tzotzil people for new generations of young adults. We are very grateful to WARP for helping us reinvigorate our collective and our educational projects. I'm going to do two more, so bear with me and then I'll stop. We had someone here in the US in San Francisco. She used her grant to start weaving classes for young Mayan immigrants in San Francisco so that they could be inspired to remember their heritage. And she recently let us know that she was invited to teach another class to adults this past fall on how to weave, build their loom, and dye their cotton. And in her words, "Thank you so much for helping me spread my own Mayan heritage textile traditions with my community. It has started something amazing in my community, and I can't wait to see how it grows." And one more, it's from a group in Niger. The name is in French, but the acronym is DIMA, so I'm going to go with DIMA. It's a nonprofit organization licensed by the government of Niger, and their mission is to give young people the skills to earn their living as artisans, increase their incomes, and preserve traditional arts in Niger. And one of their main projects was to revive a type of hand weaving. There was like one master weaver that they had found who still was weaving in this traditional style, and they asked him to help teach others so it wouldn't disappear. And in general, hand weaving was almost dying out in Niger. So with their grant, they purchased materials and labor to build an open-air weaving shed, and also built 5 traditional Nigerian looms and weaving equipment. And the village actually contributed land for that shed. I bring this one up because, as many of you might know, there was a war that broke out in Niger right as we were handing out these grants, and there were people being displaced. It was a very unstable situation, so they wrote to us and said, "I'm really sorry. Please trust that we will use this money as soon as we are able." And I got an email from Judith Sen, who's the founder of that group, and they were able to open that shed this past March, I think. I asked her to write an article, which hopefully will be in the next newsletter, which brings me sort of to the future. I think we really want you to get a better picture of who these artisans are, what kinds of grants they're getting. So we're kind of pledging to increase the number of profiles that we're putting into the newsletter, and just, you know, getting the word out more than my standing up here once a year and a couple of times in the newsletter. The other thing is that actually yesterday, it wasn't one of the groups that Elena had set out, but a few of us sort of set up an impromptu discussion about where do we go with these grants, what parameters do we want to have, how can we improve the application, because sometimes it's hard to glean what it is they really are asking for and what the impact is going to be. And also how we can involve you all, whether that's opportunities perhaps for mentoring some of these groups who might want it. We've got a lot of ideas we're kicking around, so stay tuned. And I'll just close again by saying thank you. If our mission is to spur the helping of artisans worldwide, I'm not sure there's anything else that does this as much, well, not as much, but this is one of the ways that I think we really are having an impact on artisans, so very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Next, I'm going to welcome Hetty Hollyfield, our outgoing co-chair, back up again. The day that you all arrived on Wednesday, we had a day-long board meeting with our current board members, our incoming board members, and all of our staff. And Hetty's going to share the results of that meeting, or the highlights.
Well, I'm going to be really short because you've already heard most of the highlights. We have a marketing coordinator, we have an administrative assistant, our executive director is working on her 3rd year, and we're migrating off of our membership management software. So these are like overarching goals for the year that we'll be working on. What we're really trying to do is embed some processes and do what we do, but do them better. We are a networking organization. So with that in mind, we really want to recruit volunteers. We have a volunteer coordinator, and I'm going to talk about each committee a little bit and ask that you think about it and think about which committees you might fit on, and raise your hand and join one if you can. I mean, most of our committees have maybe one member volunteer, and then board members, and we really would like for people to relate. It's a lot of fun to work on a committee. You get to know individuals and their expertise. So with that, the fundraising and financing committee is one committee. Everybody likes to talk about money. Nobody likes to do anything about it. I think Elena is going to be looking for member volunteers for the marketing committee. So if you're interested in that, that's an exciting new opportunity that we have. The newsletter will need, Linda did it by herself for so long. The newsletter will need volunteers, I believe. Liz, were you going to be looking for volunteers? Yes? Yes. Yes, for the next year. Yes, I will. And the membership committee, which is also a relatively new committee, is looking for member volunteers to talk about, membership issues and what attracts people and keeps people. The panel discussions committee, again, we have one member volunteer, and that's a really fun committee to work on because you get to organize the monthly panel discussions that, reach around the world. The fireside chat committees, if you want to be on the fireside, be a featured member, or if you want to suggest other not victims, but members to present, that's another opportunity. The grants, you just heard what a wonderful job the grants are doing, and the grants have raised over $23,000 this year. So and next year it's probably going bigger, who knows? And it's a huge amount of work for those people, but the people that are working on the grants committee find it very, very rewarding. The scholarships committee, what a class we have this year, 5 scholarship students. That's a really interesting committee to work on, and you find and recruit younger members. And also, last but not least, is the annual meeting committee, which will be planning next year's committee. You see what a great year we've had and what a great meeting this is. And this is your opportunity to contribute. So please think about these things. Think about, what you wanted to volunteer. It's a great way of getting to know other members and be part of our network in a more active way. So I would encourage you to do that. So that's going to be a big feature of this year. And also with Linda moving on to off the newsletter position, my initial reaction was panic. But it turns out one of our new board members is very experienced at editing, and I'm not sure what all your skills are, Liz, but Liz has volunteered to step in to be the editor of the newsletter, but she will be looking for lots of contributors and volunteers for that process. So that's a huge relief to me to know that we have someone to take over that. I thought Linda was irreplaceable, but I guess, well, she is irreplaceable, and certainly in the history of WARP, she's irreplaceable. And then there's one final thing that came up at the board meeting that I think is maybe a new, exciting opportunity, and that is to have monthly Zoom calls, sort of like the table topics we had last night. So that would be a chance not of featuring artists or featuring members, but for people that are interested in a specific topic, such as cultural appropriation, that we would set aside a time every month to host. We'd have a topic every month, and then whoever was interested in that topic just come on and talk about it as a Zoom meeting. And it would give us an opportunity to network, more on a face-to-face basis through the year that we don't really get other than at the annual meeting. So I think that's it. Did I miss anything?
Question?
Yes.
Could you restate who the volunteer coordinator is?
The volunteer coordinator is Debbie Durham. She's not at this year's meeting.
Oh, okay.
So if you hear from Debbie, please answer her. If you don't hear from Debbie and you have something you want to volunteer for, then contact any of us. We'll be happy to. Oh, yes, we could also use a blog writer if you're interested in writing.
Well, not even writer.
Writer. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Subjects for the blog. That's another place we're looking for volunteers. Everybody has ideas about what things should be written about, right? That's it. That's all I have.
Hetty, I'm looking at the agenda, and I think that was your last official responsibility as outgoing co-chair. Okay, next on the agenda says volunteers, which I wanted to include the slide with names, so I skipped ahead on that one. So next I'm going to welcome WARP member Amy Thompson up to talk about next year's annual meeting.
Thank you, Kelsey, and everybody. All right, so I'm going to teach you a phrase that's really important. You've probably heard it before. Roll Tide! Say it back. Roll Tide! All right, so everybody says that in Alabama, and if they see you with the big script A for University of Alabama, you will get people saying that to you. I've been in the Vatican City and had people say that to me. So it's a thing, it's a community thing, and I think of WARP as a community. So this is another way of expressing your community, and once you've been there, you're part of the community. And it's, like I said, a big thing. So if people say it to you, or as if we have presenters from Alabama and they finish with that, they're welcoming you and including you in the community. Big sports school. So anyway, I wanted to tell you that. So from that, you probably guess that if you haven't already heard, I had people come and talking to me several times. So I think a lot of people already know we're planning on having the next WARP meeting, annual meeting next year in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where the University of Alabama is located. So if your geography of Alabama is a little rusty, we're a very vertical state, and at the top is Huntsville, kind of north, and then a little bit south of that, we have Birmingham, and then a little bit more south of that, so we're talking central eastern, we have Tuscaloosa, and then we go on down to Montgomery and then to Mobile. So we kind of do this thing. There's lots of other little communities and cities around us. So Tuscaloosa is about an hour from Birmingham, where our major airport is, which might answer some questions about some of the geography of what we're doing next year. So the campus of the University of Alabama has expanded over the last 20 years. We started with about 19,000 at that time students, and we're now up to 38. And we have built dorms and dorms and more dorms. So we're hoping that we will be using that asset for our stay next semester, or not next semester, I'm sorry, I'm on semesters. That's how my mind works, next year. And so we're trying to coordinate that so that we will have that dorm option, much like we had at Kent State, which I think was a very lovely thing, very lovely thing to have available. So that's part of our plan, working on that. And I'm sorry, I have notes to myself because I didn't want to skip things. We're targeting May 14th through the 17th, around that time. Again, we're trying to coordinate that. Kelsey and Lindsay and maybe Elaine, the people, the staff, we're all working that with the board members and everybody else to try to target that. Does anybody live in the South right now? Has lived? All right, so why would I be targeting May? Yeah, it's there. Yes, that's another one. You see our campus and you think you've hit the Garden of Eden or something, like it's just everything's blooming, but also the humidity. I'm not going to promise we won't have humidity in May. We probably will, but it just won't be how much it's built up until July and so forth. It'll be pretty warm then with the humidity. And other things that we're working on to help is getting a bus shuttle service. We have campus buses because since our campus has expanded, we're basically almost like 3 campuses now that are sort of connected together. So we have a lot of busing to try to cut down on traffic. And we're trying to see if we can get that coordinated to go up to the airport. As I said, it's about an hour away. So we're going to see if we can do that to help with some of our back and forth for everybody. And I'll see another thing I'm trying to think out. We're also working on tentative field trips. One would be Moundville Archaeological Park, which is 30 minutes or so from us, and it's the Mississippian culture, one of the mound builder cultures. They have a big park there. There's lots of archaeologists that like to talk to us about things and different options that we can look at and see. Then there's also Gee's Bend Quilts. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. I'm talking to textile people here. There's a center We're seeing how that's going to work. Center, somebody coming talk to us, what can we arrange? And there's also, this is a newer one, Shoe Loop. It's a vertically integrated shoe manufacturer that does things in the USA that has sustainable materials and also working on product circularity. I've been working with them with some of my students and stuff, and they've got a facility that they've created in Meridian where they've redone an old bread factory and completely redone it, and they do production in there, and it's pretty amazing what they can do. And they have a whole story, and it would take me a long time, probably up here, to tell you all about it, but it's pretty fascinating. And one of the key things is there was a Lazy Boy upholstery, chair, Lazy Boy furniture factory there, and that pretty much went out. And they went and hired the handcraft people that were doing the sewing and the upholstering, and they've got them into their shoe situation. So they've retrained them, they're retraining them to do that. So I thought that was pretty incredible because it gave a lot of job opportunities that had disappeared in that area, along with the other things that they're doing. Okay, I feel like I've hit some highlights. I'm a little nervous up here, but do you have questions or things I could help you with? Yes, Elena. You will have air conditioning. Yeah, unless the air conditioner dies, they're built in. Yeah, pretty much every place will have air conditioning built in. That was a question about conditions and air conditioning. Yes, Diana. Can you talk about the program that you're involved in at the university? Oh, yes, thank you, Diana. I'm a professor in the Department of Clothing, Textile, and Interior Design. So we are part of the Human Environmental Sciences College. So in the past, I think we would also have been called home ec, but a lot of them changed their names kind of in the 90s and stuff. And we'll probably get to change our name again, it's trending and all that kind of stuff. But so we have 3 concentrations: interior design, fashion retailing, and apparel design. And that's what our students focus in within our department. I think we have, I'm going to say, between 14 and 18 faculty for that department. And a wide range of backgrounds, from marketing to historic to textile science to, construction design to textile design, and then all the interior residential, commercial, and sustainable, their focuses as well. So, and we have probably about 500 undergraduates, I want to say, in our department at any given time. So that's kind of our department in a nutshell. And we just got a new building, the Drummond Lions Hall. And so hopefully we can incorporate that so you guys can see that new space and stuff as well. I see another question. That's a great one. Thank you. Thank you for, and I think we may also have some things that relate to that, not only in Tuscaloosa. Selma's a bit further away. It's over 2 hours away. But in Tuscaloosa, I know they've also got things that connect to that as well. But that's great. I should put that. Oh, I'm sorry, the suggestion, the Civil Rights Museum in Birmingham was a suggestion. I know when we went to Kent State and we could see the trail on Kent State last year, that was, I think a lot of members took the opportunity to do that. That was great. So thank you, Susan, right? Thank you for that suggestion. I'll try to put that in my notes. And if you have other suggestions, yes, please. No. Okay. So graduation, at least the way they've had it, we just had our graduation the 4th and 5th of May this year. It should be very similar next year. Thank you for asking. We were trying to hit a sweet spot between Mother's Day and Memorial Day when we were looking at dates for this. And who knows, it might shift a little bit, but that's what we were trying to do. And also miss graduation. And all of our students, as soon as graduation happens, about 38,000 people leave. So we get a little more breathing room and mobility on the campus and stuff. So, and also openings in the dorms. That was the other thing we were trying to make sure we could target. Other questions? I'm sure you guys have heard of many other places, maybe in Tuscaloosa or around the University of Alabama or in Alabama itself, and you're welcome to give us ideas, and we can see if it's feasible to work it into experiences or speakers or other things that could be a part of our experience next year. Could you share your email address? Okay, here we go, if you're ready. It's my name, Amanda, which I know I'm also Amy, but it's the Amanda formal name. So Amanda period Thompson at UA, which is for University of Alabama, period edu. So I try to give that one because I feel like name at ua.edu. So Amanda, Amanda, the common spelling, period, and then Thompson, Thompson, at ua.edu. Oh, and it's in the directory. Beth's waving it at me like, hey, come on. it's in the directory also as well. If you need to find me that way. Yes. Okay, so you can volunteer on the annual, what was it called? Annual meeting committee if you want to help with this. Who do they talk to again? Deborah's waving at me. So, or Lindsay in the back.
Lindsay's better to start.
Okay, start with Lindsay. Lindsay is our starter for that. All right. Yep, she's waving in the back there. All right, well, I'm going to turn the time back over to Kelsey because I'm sure we got to keep on time here.
Thank you, Amy.
And thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Amy. It makes a huge difference to us to have an on-ground person like we had Kathy this year. So thank you for coming on board to help us plan next year. And as soon as we have that date 100% solidified, we'll send out a save the date. We'll have Amy's contact information and Lindsay's contact information. So we're really excited and that it would be the same weekend as this year, the weekend between Mother's Day and Memorial Day. Okay, that is actually our last report. We have a little time. We are running over by a little, but we also started about 15 minutes late, so let's not feel rushed. Let's go ahead and open up the floor for questions or comments, anything from the membership that you'd like to say. And we'll make sure to, maybe we can circulate the mic so that our live streaming audience can, our live streaming members can also hear the questions.
Thank you. I'm Yolanda Alcorta, and I'm here with the Friends of the Ixchel Museum. And I wanted to invite everybody to Guatemala next year to the Encuentro, which is a conference that Friends helped initiate along with the museum in 2021. And it is a conference for textiles from all over the Americas. And it is a presentation. It's two days, so it's every other year. And every other year, it's either in Mexico or in Guatemala because it's a consortium of museums in Mexico and Guatemala. So next year, 2025, it will be in Guatemala. It will be hosted by the Museo Ixchel, and it is in October. Usually it's mid-October. I don't have the dates, but I'll make sure that that is on our social media here with WARP. So, we probably will be, I personally would, because many people have asked me, maybe do a tour either before or after to the communities that might be of interest to people. So that's, it could be in the works, and if you are interested in maybe having a WARP contingent, talk to me about it or send me an email, and then I think it would be great fun. It might be my last tour that I do in Guatemala. I haven't done one in many years, but anyway, but that's one of the things that I'd like to offer to the membership, and hopefully we can pull that together.
What are the dates again, Yolanda?
It'll be in October. I don't have the dates yet because they haven't. I don't think they've set them yet. But usually it's mid-October.
Thank you, Yolanda. Before I pass the mic, an announcement keep forgetting to make. Somebody found this beautiful peacock blue yarn on the. Okay, I'll return it to you afterwards. Okay. Oh, Tara.
Yeah, I just wanted to note that the marketplace is open for about an hour right now and maybe through lunch, and that we're all packing up at 5. And many of us, or at least some of us, are not moving over to the School of Mines tomorrow. So Don't delay. Don't delay, don't delay.
Shop soon and shop often.
I just had a question on the application process for the grants. What is the timeline?
Diane, the question is, what is the timeline? Maybe, there's another mic here we can hand you. I think so.
It varies a little bit, but the application period is usually somewhere, it probably will be in March again, because we do the fundraising matching grant in January. And so we need to raise the funds, and then we kind of update everything. And it was open from March 1st to March 31st this year. You know, I mentioned that we're kind of looking at a lot of this over the next few months, so I can't promise that's exactly when it will be, but I'm sure our social media maven will make sure that you know. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask me, or Amy's on the committee. Cheryl's on the committee, and Tina's not here. Who am I missing? Beth. I'm so sorry. She's one of our most absolutely passionate members, and Susan Davis. So any of us you can chat with.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Sarah, I should have brought your yarn.
Not a question specifically, but for those of you who missed Kathy's announcement about the trash, compost, etc., please be aware that the caterer's cutlery is not compostable. The white is compostable, the black is not. And our friend Rich, who's been a parishioner here, literally dumped out the compost bin and went through it all to pull out our cutlery. So if you have a concern, put it in the trash. Put compostables only in the composting, and try to keep their trash straight. Thank you.
Sarah, thank you for that, and I will say that they told us that it was. So we didn't just make that up. He pointed out it had no marking, and we didn't know. Yeah. No, but the people at the food place told us.
We actually called yesterday after the lunch delivery to confirm, and we were told on the phone the black silverware is compostable. So I didn't know that Rick did that. I don't know if he's in the building and can hear with all the live broadcasting out in the lobby, but I just learned that he did that, and we are so incredibly grateful. But yes, so today, please make sure to just, I guess we'll throw away the.
But there were two. Some black was marked eco, and some was not.
Okay. So does it have a stamp that says eco if it is compostable? Okay. Okay, thank you for that. And Hetty would like to add something.
Rick, if you're listening in the building, we're sorry and thank you.
Just a few more things about the sorting system. All food is compostable. Meat, fat, bones, all food is compostable in those compostable bins. Yogurt containers are not. They are plastic. They're recyclable. The tops to yogurt containers are trash. They're not recyclable. They're not. So those are the sorting things. All the other, the white silverware, the napkins, the plates, the cups, even the plastic-looking cups are all compostable. And it's really, I mean, it has a huge environmental impact. Like, compost everything you can at home and here. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Even the wine cups tonight are compostable. Those are provided by Jefferson Unitarian Church, and those, so if you get a glass of wine tonight, that is compostable when you're finished.
So Hetty, just a question, comment. In most places, compost has to be clean. And so I have not been, most recycling has to be clean. So I wouldn't recycle the yogurt containers because it.
I was a little concerned about that too. I don't know.
See a question. Donna has a question on this side. Donna, I've got a microphone right here. Or Hetty.
I was with Rick when he was going through it. He said if you have any you don't know, just throw it away. He'd rather have it in the trash than to, because he doesn't want to lose the people who are recycling.
Sure, okay. So she said that if you have any question, please just put it in the trash because they obviously don't want to lose their people who are doing the recycling for them. So it's important for their stream to be clean. Any other questions or comments?
When in doubt, throw it out.
Yes.
I'm going to change the subject a little bit, not because I hate composting, but I just wanted to offer my personal thanks to the grant-making committee and the members of WARP. I haven't had anything to do with those particular committees, but I did see the impact of one of those grants in a struggling cooperative in Quiche, Guatemala, and I just wanted to thank you for considering that and making a difference. It really did. I saw it personally on the backside. It was COVID emergency relief. It was a food grant, and just in respect for the community itself, I won't go into too many details. I can talk to you personally, but it did make a difference. Thank you for your work in that.
Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions, comments? There's one way over here, one over on the side here.
I'm coming.
Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah.
I'm going to go home and my phone's going to be like, what are you doing? You're not moving anymore.
I wanted to invite everyone, if you're interested in Lithuanian linen, to try things on, because I am flying Frontier Airlines, and my luggage is very expensive. So if you would like to try something on and offer barter for me, I'm taking barter, like stay in New York City in September for the New York Textile Month. The other thing that I wanted to announce is actually in September 2025, there will be a Shibori Symposium in Basel, Switzerland. So if people are interested in Shibori programs organized by the World Shibori Network Foundation, that is also available.
Any other questions? Everyone's ready to shop. Oh, no, okay, one more.
Katie from New York City. Any thought to having a longer meeting with shorter days versus the, I don't know if anyone else is thinking the same way, but just put it out there.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you for the suggestion.
We'll have
We'll
an annual
definitely take that
meeting about it.
Yeah, we'll have an annual meeting to discuss that. Anything else? Okay, well, I want to thank you all for your attention. I want to thank you all for being members of WARP. I think this has been a really great meeting, and we have lots more to come. I want to share that we resume our program at 12 p.m. Mountain Time, and that'll be Julia Gomez presenting.